This is the Franchise QB Podcast, where we empower entrepreneurs to win big in franchising. We huddle up weekly to educate our audience about the most successful small business model ever created, franchising.
Welcome to the Franchise QB Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Halpern, a 20-year industry veteran and entrepreneur. My mission is for listeners to achieve their American dreams of creating wealth and independence through franchise ownership. Every week, we speak with franchisees, franchisors, or vendors that support the industry. Thank you for joining us, and let's get started. Joining us in the huddle today is Max Emma, CEO of BooXkeeping. Welcome to the show, Max.
Great to be here, Mike. Hi.
Yeah, great to have you here. So you wear many hats in the franchise space. You're a certified franchise executive with the IFA, a certified franchise consultant with Main Street Franchise Consulting, and a franchisor with BooXkeeping, which is the subject franchise we're going to talk about today. Tell us a little bit about your background, Max, and how you originally found the franchise space.
Sure. There is one more hat that you forgot. We do bookkeeping for over 100 franchise brands in the U.S. So
wow.
A lot of these brands are, our clients. So we are very intimately involved with franchising from different parts of the spectrum. But I ran into franchising by accident. We got introduced to a franchise brand, started doing bookkeeping for their franchisees. And, then second brand, third brand. And I started going to franchise conferences. And ultimately, when most of the vendors were waiting outside, waiting for people to come outside and talk to them, I was in the room where they had all the conferences, and I was listening and taking notes and asking questions. And I fell in love with franchising. And my joke is that I told myself, when I grow up, I want to be like one of them. And I guess I've grown up, and I franchised a concept a few years ago.
That's really cool. So that's interesting that you actually provide the services for franchisors as well as franchise owners. So there's a lot of layers that you touch with your business. So let's talk about franchising as a mechanism for building wealth and becoming an entrepreneur. In your view, Max, why is it safer to buy a franchise versus opening a business totally from scratch?
Well, the whole concept of franchise, that it tells you what to do and most importantly, what not to do. Okay, so I believe that people can figure out a lot of things on their own, but my question is, how long is it going to take? I mean, probably anybody can ultimately open a pizza restaurant, but how many pies are you going to burn before you figure out the perfect number of pieces of pepperoni on a pie, and then how much cheese and how many minutes it should be in there? And so all the pies look exactly the same and taste exactly the same. So that's something the franchisor teaches people. And I believe anybody can open a bookkeeping company, but we've been doing it since 2011, and we can definitely tell our franchisees how to do it more efficiently, in our opinion. Even though you always have to listen to your franchisees. Don't forget that Big Mac came from McDonald's franchisee. The bucket for KFC came from Kentucky Fried Chicken franchisee. And now it's their hottest item. But, so franchisor has to listen to their franchisees, but franchisor doesn't have to agree on everything franchisees are asking for.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Max, because the franchise owners are out in the field doing it day in and day out, and some of their ideas are really transformative and helpful. And they're not all, like you said, but a lot of them are. And you cited a few good examples. Yeah, and I think one thing you mentioned that's poignant is it's a lot of not just what you should do as an owner, but franchisors provide guidance as what not to do. And avoiding those mistakes can be the difference between success and failure in franchising. So, Max, in your opinion, what are some of the common myths about franchising? I know a lot of people sometimes don't see it as all positive. So tell us about some of the myths that you've encountered in your tenure in the space.
Well, I mean, number one, that you don't have to do anything, that, the business is going to run by itself. You do have to work, and depends on what franchise you buy. You have to be good at it. I mean, your job is going to be different based on the franchise you buy. If you buy a Taco Bell franchise, your job is fulfillment. You don't have to stay outside with the flyers giving it to people. But if you buy a bookkeeping franchise, for example, you have to go and do business development to get new clients.
Yeah,
That's number one. Number two, that franchising is for everyone. I don't think so, because if you are a hardcore entrepreneur and you want to do it your way, you're not going to do well in franchise. Because, I mean, I don't care how many good ideas you have, franchisor are not going to go with all of them. You don't even know how many times I got approached by my franchisees, potential franchisees mostly, asking, why can't we do taxes? Why don't you add taxes? We're going to be making more money. And I have to explain again and again, that would change the model. Right now, BooXkeeping is the only bookkeeping franchise, and we're getting a lot of referrals from CPA firms. As soon as we start doing taxes, we're going to be like another H&R Block and Liberty Tax, which is nothing wrong with that. They have a lot of locations. And now I can tell you the same. I want to be like them when I grow up in terms of number of locations, but I don't want to do taxes because we're not one of them. We just do the
Right.
bookkeeping. It's easier to find talent. It's easier to grow, in my opinion. So it's a business decision. But if somebody comes in with a lot of ideas and let me tell you how we're going to run your business, it's not going to go well. So the franchising definitely not for them.
Yeah. And to kind of add to your point, a lot of things I hear in terms of myths is I can be absentee and this business is going to run itself. And there's really no such thing. You have to be involved in the business. You got to make sure that you have a team. And, I think that's when people kind of wrap their heads around that, they're like, okay, I can build something special, but it's going to take a lot of hard work, especially in the beginning. So, Max, let's talk about AI because everyone's talking about it within the franchise industry, outside of the franchise industry. It's become one of the biggest topics in business in general. So, in your view, from your perspective, is AI your enemy or your friend?
So it's definitely my friend because look, in terms of bookkeeping, we mostly use QuickBooks, but we don't discriminate. We use other softwares as well. They're all using AI now. So what was taking 5 hours before now might take 2 hours. So instead of us increasing the prices, we're actually decreasing the prices and getting a bigger market share. But a lot of our competition, it's very hard conceptually when you're making $400 per client, let's say, just cut it down into half. I don't have any issues with that. But people are like, no, no, and then it's inflation and the gas price is going up. So I'm going to increase it by 10%. And ultimately, people are going to say, well, how come, you increasing my fees when everybody else is decreasing it? So that's why we use the AI and making sure we're getting a bigger market share. We still require human touch. It's still not 100%, probably I would say 50% automated, 60%, but not 100%. People still want to talk to a human every month. And that's the services we provide. And we always have somebody looking over the numbers and, making the final decisions. So for me, AI is great. And AI is helping me as a franchisor a lot, like to develop territory, want to do the research on certain territory. Takes minutes, what used to take hours, or paying somebody to do it and they would charge you thousands of dollars.
Sure. Well, let's kind of do a deeper dive on your brand. So, Max, what makes BooksKeeping unique compared to other accounting franchises? You mentioned one thing in that you guys stay in your lane and you focus on your discipline and you don't get distracted with taxes, for example. But what else makes you unique?
Well, the fact that we're the only bookkeeping franchise that unique enough, in my opinion. The second one is that we do bookkeeping for other franchise brands. So we do understand franchising from different angles, and then these clients become ultimately a source of clientele for our franchisees. Okay. And then the third one is the training. We have our own model called 36912 model, and what's included is 3 months of accounting school, 6 months of no minimum royalties, 9 months of sales training with live sales coach, and 12 months of executive coaching. The idea of executive coaching is where franchisees are actually getting to the peak of their performance. So if you've seen Billions on Showtime, we have our own Wendy. So we have our own psychologist who has a PhD, and her job is to get them to the top of their performance. And, she's doing it for other brands and charging, $2,000-$3,000 per person per month. All my employees and all my franchisees are getting it for free. And that's, the value of all of that training is actually more than the franchise fee people paying us.
That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like there's an emphasis on making sure that your owners, there's a lot of touch points between your team and your franchise owners, and they're constantly being educated so that they're at
Absolutely. One
peak
more thing that
performance.
I didn't mention, Mike, that we provide them staff to do the work if they want to. So they can pretty much become like a, you know, quarterback running and just, getting the clients, communicating with the clients. We provide all the back end on that if they want to. They don't
That's
have
really
to
great.
hire through us, but it's a possibility.
It's an option. Very cool. So who are you looking for, Max? Who's an ideal candidate to become a BooXkeeping franchise owner?
Well, somebody who is going to listen to us, somebody who will work with us. I'm not looking for somebody, again, stubborn, who says, I'm not going to do it your way. Then why are you buying into the system? I
Yeah.
think any franchisor should not be taking that. And look, when you just starting the brand, everybody taking everybody. That's obviously, everybody's doing it because you want your first, your second, your third franchisee. But you have to be careful who becomes part of your family. Our culture is huge for us, so we're definitely looking for somebody who is aligned with our culture. Then also we doing really well with we're doing really well with so-called corporate refugees, somebody who is working for corporate America and for different reasons leaving. They don't have to be accountants. They don't have to be bookkeepers. We'll train them. They have to be, I call it, friendly. So, look, if somebody never looked at financial statements before and hates numbers, maybe this is not the right business for you,
Right.
unless you're going to hire a manager. Right now, we're talking to someone who is very deep into the process. He is actually a professor, and then he knows nothing about bookkeeping. He gets it, but he has enough money to hire general manager from day one and hire business development manager who will be running the business for him and grow it while he is concentrating on teaching, whatever subject he is teaching. I'm open to that. But that's not
Okay.
something that I'm going and specifically targeting. But, he found us online. Wonderful. So we'll go ahead and help him do it. One of our franchisee was a 7-year NFL veteran. So
Okay.
he retired from NFL and then decided to buy bookkeeping franchise among other multi-unit that he owned. So, like anybody can do it, but mainly we're going for existing CPA firms or bookkeeping firms or corporate refugees, if I can just, minimize that.
No, that's great. And also, since you have that background with doing franchise consulting, you've worked with lots of candidates in your career. So I think that gives you an extra advantage of really making sure that the person that you're awarding a franchise to is going to be a fit for the culture and they're going to be someone that can be coached and someone that is a good franchise owner. Like you said, independent. Some people are just destined to be an independent, do everything themselves, and they're not, that push and pull is not a good, healthy relationship in a franchisor model. So Max, I know a lot of clients are coming in, like you mentioned before, something like Taco Bell, right? It's a fulfillment-based franchise. There's plenty of marketing out there. Everybody knows who they are. With BooXkeeping, it's a little more nuanced, and the onus is on the franchisee to go out there and acquire clients. How do you help new owners that have that fear? Okay, if I sign my franchise agreement, how am I going to find clients to work with? How do you help with that?
Well, I mean, that's huge part of the initial training. I call it low hanging fruits. I mean, we work together with them how to get their first client. It's actually the whole module of the training that I personally lead. And then second, we are the franchises that are our clients. We do bookkeeping for their franchisees. We call it enterprise clients. So this franchises become the source of clientele for our franchisees. I mean, we cannot guarantee that they're going to go with
Sure.
them, but we definitely do that. And then we are developing a system right now where some franchisees will be able to purchase accounts from day one and become cash flow positive from day one. So they will come
Okay.
pretty much like buy a business with the team and they'll get trained how to look at these clients and how to work with them. And that's going to give them a good base. It's in development, so it's coming soon. But at some point, it's going to be like a resale of a new business. So it's a little bit of a unique system because not that many franchises offer cash flow positive from day one.
Yeah, so it looks like they have a head start coming out of the gate with
Mhm.
potentially acquiring some clients so that you can kind of skip a little bit of that. Let's get our first, let's get our second. You might already have a book that has like 10 or 20 clients,
Mhm.
give them a little bit of an advantage. But just for those that are kind of wondering, when you mentioned the idea of like having a franchise or enterprise client. So for example, if Taco Bell, and they may not be the specific client, but if they have, if I buy a territory in Fairfax County and there's 20 Taco Bells here, there might be an opportunity for me to have an edge to kind of land that business because of the relationship with corporate. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And using Taco Bell, I mean, they're not one of the companies, but if you use them as an example, there are 20 locations. we already would pre-negotiate the pricing, and we already would be a preferred bookkeeping provider, understanding how the processes work and everything else, and work on multiple other Taco Bells. So we would give our franchisee a list of these Taco Bells, and he or she can go to all the location and talk to the manager or the owner and say, hey, we are preferred for other locations. Would you like us to do your bookkeeping for X? And then
Got it.
if they don't have somebody who is comfortable with franchising, or they're looking to make a change, or they just like the fact that it's a preferred vendor, and some makes us mandatory vendor, by the way, then they will switch. Again, there is no guarantee, because if they're perfectly happy where they are, we can't twist their hand and say, no, you have to leave your bookkeeper and come and work with BooXkeeping franchisee. But it's an
Yeah,
opportunity
makes
that
sense.
a lot of franchises do not provide.
Right. So if someone's listening, Max, and they're interested in becoming an owner with BooXkeeping, tell us a little bit about item 7. How much does it cost to get into the deal?
So the total startup cost ranges from $53,000 to $84,000. That includes the franchise fee and the first few months of running the business. And the reason there is a fork, our typical franchise fee is $60,000. However, we do provide a significant discount, 25%, to existing bookkeeping firms and CPA firms. So they get 25% discount. We also provide veteran discount and active military spouses discount. So that also makes it less, but 84,000, the highest, highest amount that it would run everything for somebody to
Yeah.
buy books.
And I mean, relative to what's out there, it's a very affordable brand to get into because
Yes,
it can
and
be
we are
home based.
part of SBA, approved Small Business Administration, so you can pretty much get 100% of it financed, and also get some money to buy additional accounts or to pay yourself a salary for a while. And I mean, we've had franchisees getting approved in three weeks, saying that this is like express version, so it's not, there is no collateral required when you.
Oh, in terms of getting access to the capital?
I want to remind people that as of March 1st, you now have to be a U.S. citizen to get access to SBA. Before, green card would work, but now you have to be a U.S. citizen. But nevertheless, its money are available, and it's there for you to get to start a business.
Sounds good. And Max, do you provide item 19 earnings guidance so that candidates might understand their ROI?
Yes, absolutely. So we are providing the item 19, and the most recent one, we're showing the average, and it's $138,000 of average gross annual revenue and $84,000 of average annual gross profit.
Very cool.
So we have way more franchisees than we report, because item 19, you usually report somebody who's been in the system for a year or longer. We had the biggest growth in the system last year, so we are getting to the next level. So next year number is going to be different, and hopefully
Yeah.
larger.
Well, congratulations on the success of growing the franchise system. Anything else you want to add to the mix before we wrap up today, Max?
Sure. Just wanted to add that a few months ago we made on the Entrepreneur 500 list, and it's like,
Congratulations.
thank you. It's like Oscars for franchising. So I'm very happy, grateful, and humble, because usually emerging franchises our size do not get on the list. That's not something you can buy. It's either you make it or not. And they have 150 data points. So God knows what Entrepreneur Magazine used, but they picked us, and we're number 330 in the country. So this is awesome. That gives you independent validation, and that makes us feel good, and then also gives a peace of mind to potential candidates.
That is the number one list in our industry. So congratulations for that feather in
Thank
your
you.
cap. And if anyone listening would like to connect with Max and his team to learn more about becoming a franchise owner with BooksKeeping, contact me at franchiseqb.com and I'll get you connected. Thank you so much, Max, for taking the time to get in the huddle with us today.
Mike, thank you very much for the opportunity. Great talking to you.
Absolutely. You as well.
Thank you for listening to the Franchise QB podcast, where you're at the helm of your future as a franchise owner. If you enjoyed the content, please rate the show and recommend it to anyone that might be interested in franchising. Make sure to visit franchiseqb.com to subscribe to my newsletter and for an actionable playbook to go from walk-on to legend in your new business. Follow us on Twitter at QBFranchiseQB and join us every week for a new episode. See you next time.
Visit franchiseqb.com to take the next step of your journey towards wealth, independence, and franchise ownership. And remember, when working for the man gets old, you must do something bold. Thank you for listening.